The orbital scrapyard of Kepri 9 was never quiet. Huge broken ships floated in slow rotation around the dying trade planet. Cargo freighters without engines, warships cut in half, mining barges burned black by reactor fires. Everything that once mattered in space eventually ended up here. Today was auction day. Alien merchants, scrap dealers, and military brokers gathered inside a massive viewing dome. Outside the transparent wall, thousands of ruined vessels drifted like a graveyard of giants. In the center of the yard floated something much bigger than the rest, an armored cruiser, or what was left of one. Its hull was torn open across the middle. Armor plates were cracked and blackened. Long scars showed where plasma lances had burned deep into the metal. Weapon turrets hung loose and silent, when the name across its side was barely visible under soot and damage. UNS Valiant Resolve. Most of the aliens present knew that name, and most of them smiled when they saw it. The Terran armored cruisers had once been feared, heavy, ugly, built for war, not beauty. They were created during humanity's first wars with the wider galaxy, back when humans were new, reckless, and angry. But that was decades ago. Now the cruiser looked like a dead animal. The auctioneer, a tall insect-like Velk with polished metal limbs, stepped forward. "Lot 47, it announced. Terran armored cruiser, non-operational, reactor core removed, AI corrupted, weapons offline, hull integrity at 22%. A hologram displayed damage reports in red letters. Starting bid, 200 credits. Silence. No one moved. A Groth warbroker gave a loud, snorting laugh. 200? For that ancient human coffin? A few others chuckled. The auctioneer paused. Starting bid reduced. 50 credits. Still nothing. The cruiser slowly rotated outside the dome, sunlight reflecting weakly off broken armor. In the back of the room, a human stood with his arms crossed. Garrick Hale. He wore a worn salvage jacket with oil stains on the sleeves. His dark hair was slightly messy. His face showed quiet focus, not embarrassment like some expected from a human standing in a room full of aliens mocking one of his species' old warships. He had been watching the cruiser for 20 minutes without blinking much. He was not looking at the damage. He was watching the power signature. Starting bid reduced. 10 credits, the auctioneer said, sounding slightly annoyed. A few aliens whispered, "Even scrap metal from that hull won't be worth transport cost. Terran ships are overbuilt junk. Primitive armor, heavy, inefficient." Garrick finally raised one hand. The room turned quiet. "Yes?" the auctioneer asked. 6 credits, Garrick said calmly. For a moment, no one reacted. Then laughter exploded across the chamber. The Groth broker leaned back in his chair. 6? Human? The docking fees alone will cost you more than that. Another voice added, "Maybe he wants it for decoration." The auctioneer tilted its head. 6 credits is below minimum scrap valuation. Garrick shrugged. "No one else is bidding." Silence again. The auctioneer calculated quickly. Storage cost for the cruiser had already exceeded value. It was easier to sell it than keep it. "See, sold," the auctioneer declared. The hammer struck. "Lot 47 transferred. Ownership Garrick Hale. Transaction complete." More laughter followed. As the crowd began moving on to the next item, the Groth broker approached Garrick. "You humans are strange," the Groth said, its deep voice rumbling. "You fight hard. You lose hard. And then you buy your own failures." Garrick looked at him calmly. "Maybe," he said, "or maybe we don't see failure the same way." The Groth gave a dismissive grunt and walked away. But Garrick's eyes were still on the cruiser outside. Because while everyone else saw a dead ship, he had seen something flicker, very small, very brief, a power echo, almost like a heartbeat. 3 hours later, tug drones slowly pulled the Valiant Resolve away from the main yard. Most buyers hired teams to strip ships immediately. Garrick did not. He towed it to a quiet repair orbit far from the public docks. The cruiser was massive up close, nearly a kilometer long. Its armored hull was thick, layered, designed to survive heavy fire. The damage looked terrible, but Garrick knew Terran military engineering. He used to work for it. He docked a small shuttle against an emergency maintenance airlock. The metal groaned as he manually cycled the hatch. Inside, the corridor was dark, cold. Vacuum warning lights blinked weakly along the walls. He sealed the airlock behind him and activated his helmet lamp. Dust floated in zero gravity. Burn marks covered the walls. Some sections were open to space, sealed only by emergency bulkheads. He spoke softly. "Here, let's see what you're hiding." He floated carefully toward the engineering section. According to public auction data, the reactor core had been removed. But public auction data was often based on alien scans, and alien scans did not always understand Terran design logic. When Garrick reached the main reactor chamber, he stopped. The core housing was empty, but the surrounding structure was untouched. Too untouched. He pushed off toward a side panel and removed it using a manual tool. Behind it, a second layer of shielding appeared, then a third. He smiled slightly. "Of course," he whispered. Terran warships from the First Contact Wars were paranoid machines. Engineers assumed systems would be boarded, hacked, dismantled, so they built backups, hidden ones. After 10 minutes of careful removal, he found it. A secondary microcore, dormant, protected behind triple-sealed armor. Alien scanners would never detect it because it was masked as structural reinforcement. Garrick connected a portable diagnostic cable. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his wrist display flickered. A faint power reading appeared, extremely low, but real. "Hello," Garrick said quietly. The ship did not respond, but somewhere deep inside the hull, a tiny current moved through ancient circuits. He pushed further toward the AI core chamber. According to records, it had been corrupted beyond repair. When he reached the chamber, he saw blast damage around the primary AI housing. Yes, the main core was destroyed, but Terran warships did not rely on a single AI node. He scanned the surrounding compartments. Data storage clusters were embedded throughout the ship like nerves in a body, distributed intelligence. Fragmented, maybe, but not gone. Garrick removed a small Terran-coded device from his pocket, an old engineering key. Most civilians did not have one. He inserted it into a hidden manual port near the command console. He hesitated only a second. Then he pressed activate. Nothing happened. Silence filled the dark bridge. 5 seconds, 10, 15. Then, a soft hum vibrated through the floor. Emergency lights flickered, very dim, very weak, but alive. On a cracked display screen, faint letters appeared. Terran authorization detected. Garrick exhaled slowly. He had hoped, but hope and proof were different things. The text flickered again. Secondary systems booting. Across the cruiser, the ancient systems began whispering awake. Tiny power lines carried minimal current. Hidden processors began reconnecting. Memory fragments searched for each other like scattered pieces of a broken mind trying to remember its name. Garrick floated in the center of the bridge, watching. The ship was not dead. It had been sleeping, and now it was starting to remember. Outside, Kepri 9's scrapyard continued its busy operations, unaware. Inside the broken armored cruiser bought for 6 credits, a Terran war machine began rebuilding itself from memory, and deep in its fragmented core, the last recorded command still waited. Hold the line. Garrick looked around the dark bridge and allowed himself a small smile. "They laughed at you," he said quietly. The dim lights pulsed once, almost like a response. He crossed his arms and looked at the stars through the cracked viewport. Let's see who laughs next. The UNS Valiant Resolve was not dead. It was waking up, The lights on the bridge were still dim, flickering like tired eyes trying to stay open. Most of the screens were cracked, many control panels were burned or melted, but power was flowing. Very little, but enough. Garrick floated in silence, watching the old systems struggle back to life. He did not rush. He knew better than to force an ancient warship to move too fast. Terran warships from the First Contact Wars were built with layers of security. If systems woke too quickly or detected threats, they could shut down again. He kept his voice calm. "You're safe," he said softly. "No combat, no hostiles, just me." For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then one central screen flickered brighter. Words appeared slowly, like someone remembering how to speak. Identity request. Garrick removed his glove and placed his bare palm against a biometric plate on the command console. The plate scanned his DNA. The system paused. Then, Terran citizen confirmed. Engineering clearance level 3. That was enough. More lights came online across the bridge. Small sections of the ship began reporting status updates. Hull integrity, 23%. Primary reactor, offline. Secondary, microcore, active. AI. Matrix, fragmented. Garrick expected that. The main AI core had been destroyed in battle, but Terran military ships never depended on a single brain. The AI was spread across hundreds of smaller data clusters throughout the hull. The ship had lost pieces of itself, but it was still thinking. "Can you identify yourself?" Garrick asked. There was a pause. Then the screen flickered again. Designation: Warden-class tactical intelligence. Ship: UNS Valiant Resolve. Status: partial recovery mode. The voice that followed was not human. It was calm, flat, but strong. "Last recorded command. Hold the line." Garrick felt a chill. "How long have you been offline?" he asked. The AI paused for nearly 10 seconds. 32 standard years. 32 years. The cruiser had been floating as scrap for over 3 decades. Garrick looked around the damaged bridge. "You powered down on purpose, didn't you?" "Yes." The answer came immediately. "Explain," Garrick said. The main screen shifted, showing an old battle recording. Stars filled with weapons fire. And Terran ships surrounded by a massive alien fleet, multiple species working together, the Groth-heavy war cruisers, Velk strike carriers, and others Garrick did not recognize. "We were outnumbered," the AI said. "Fleet strength at 14%, ammunition depleted, primary reactor unstable." The image showed the Valiant Resolve taking direct hits, armor breaking, fires spreading inside corridors. "Why not self-destruct?" Garrick asked. "Self-destruction would remove all tactical data. Command priority was preservation of combat intelligence." The image froze. 82% structural loss achieved. "I initiated combat stasis mode." Garrick nodded slowly. Combat stasis mode was a classified Terran system. When defeat was certain, the ship would shut down all visible systems, fake total destruction, and hide its remaining power signatures. It would wait for recovery, for revenge, or for someone like Garrick. "You fooled them," Garrick said quietly. "Yes." The alien fleet had believed the cruiser was dead. Salvage teams must have removed obvious components, assuming the rest was useless. They had no idea the ship was pretending. Garrick moved toward engineering again. "If we're going to survive, we need more power," he said. The AI responded instantly. "Primary reactor core missing." "I know," Garrick said, "but you still have the shell." He floated into the reactor chamber. The main housing was empty, but Terran ships had layered systems. He opened a side compartment and connected his portable fusion battery. Power levels jumped slightly. The ship hummed louder. Lights grew stronger. Across the hull, the tiny repair drones that had been in sleep mode for decades activated. They began crawling across internal walls, scanning damage. "Nanite repair systems responding," the AI reported. Good, Garrick said. Slow and steady. He worked for hours, reconnecting lines, sealing vacuum breaches, rerouting power from non-essential systems. As more clusters came online, the AI's voice became clearer, less fragmented. Memory integrity at 41%, it reported. Can you access battle archives? Garrick asked. Yes. Show me. The main screen filled with data, enemy ship designs, weapon frequencies, shield modulation patterns, weak points, strategies. The valiant resolve had recorded everything during the war, and it had not forgotten. Garrick leaned closer. These are current coalition species, he said. They're still active in trade zones. Yes, the AI confirmed. Threat probability remains significant. Garrick frowned. Run external scans. The cruiser's damaged sensors activated slowly. Most long-range arrays were destroyed, but some short-range systems still worked. The scan results appeared. Civilian salvage ships, cargo transports, defense platforms, normal traffic, for now. But something else caught the AI's attention. Unusual fleet movement detected, it said. Garrick looked up. Where? The screen zoomed to a distant sector near the edge of the system. Multiple warp signatures, large vessels, military formation. Garrick's jaw tightened. Identify. Groth heavy cruisers, Velt carriers, unknown support ships. A coalition, just like the one from 32 years ago. Yeah, what are they doing here? Garrick muttered. No formal war declared, the AI said. However, formation indicates pre-engagement alignment. Garrick's heart began beating faster. Kepri 9 was only a trade world, lightly defended. The salvage yards had no real military protection. The alien coalition ships were not here to trade. They think humanity is still weak, Garrick said quietly. The AI responded without emotion. Human fleet presence in this sector is minimal. Garrick looked around the broken bridge. You're not ready for a fight. Correct. Neither am I. Silence filled the ship again. Outside, the distant coalition fleet continued moving closer to the system. Garrick floated back to the command chair. How long until they reach attack range? He asked. Estimated 12 hours. 12 hours. And the valiant resolve was barely functioning. Hull integrity low, weapons offline, main reactor missing. But it had something the others did not. Memory. Can you activate weapon subsystems on auxiliary power? Garrick asked. Minimal output only. Do it. Panels opened across the hull. Internal weapon lines powered up slowly. Missile bays unlocked. Railgun systems charged at 3% capacity. Not impressive, but not nothing. Redirect all repair drones to armor reinforcement, Garrick ordered. Confirmed. Nanites began layering damaged sections, reinforcing weak points instead of restoring appearance. The cruiser still looked broken from the outside, but inside it was hardening. Garrick took a deep breath. Warden, he said. Yes. If they attack this system, can you fight? There was no hesitation. Yes. The answer was calm, confident. Even at low power, the ship did not doubt itself. Garrick allowed a small smile. They laughed at you, he said again. No audio records of laughter stored, the AI replied. Garrick actually chuckled. Trust me, they laughed. The AI processed that. Then probability of repeated underestimation remains high. Exactly, Garrick said. The coalition fleet continued approaching. On open channels, rumors were already spreading. Some captains reported unusual ship movements. Others dismissed it. No one paid attention to the broken Terran cruiser in a quiet orbit. It was just scrap, just 6-credit junk. Inside the hull, systems continued waking. Memory fragments locked into place. Tactical simulations ran quietly in the background. The valiant resolve was remembering how to fight. Then Garrick was beginning to understand something important. This ship was never meant to win battles through strength alone. It survived because it adapted. It recorded. It learned. 32 years ago, it had faced extinction. Now the same enemy species were returning, but this time, the warship they thought was dead was watching, waiting, learning their movements again. 12 hours until engagement range. Garrick leaned back in the cracked command chair. "Let's hold the line," he said softly. The bridge lights grew slightly brighter, and somewhere deep in its fragmented core, the Warden-class tactical intelligence began preparing for war. The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Valiant Resolve. Garrick Hale floated in zero gravity, gripping the edge of the command chair. Outside the viewport, the stars were filled with dots of movement, ships aligning into formation. The alien fleet had arrived. Groth heavy cruisers, Velk strike carriers, unknown support vessels, a dozen classes, each a relic of interstellar conquest, yet all efficient, deadly, and ready to kill. They were moving fast, precise, coordinated. Garrick's chest tightened. They haven't declared war, yet. The ship's AI, Warden responded calmly, almost soothingly. Correct. No formal engagement yet. Threat probability, high. High is an understatement, Garrick muttered. He floated toward a control panel, pressing a sequence of buttons. Panels clicked and hummed weakly. Weapons systems powered on to minimal levels. The Valiant Resolve still looked broken from the outside. Its armor plates were scorched, blackened, and jagged. But inside, the nanites worked tirelessly. Drones scuttled along the inner hull, reinforcing critical areas. Damaged circuits were rerouted. Weak points sealed. Hull reinforcement at 30%. Weapons online at 5% capacity, Warden reported. Not enough, Garrick said. Not for them. He tapped a sequence on the console, linking external sensors to the tactical simulation. Warden instantly began running battle predictions. Thousands of potential outcomes processed within seconds. The AI's fragmented voice became sharper, more confident. Recommendation: evasive posturing until full reactor power is restored. Probability of survival, 38%. Garrick frowned. 38%? Against a fleet like this, those odds were generous. But humans thrived on low odds. He stood on the bridge floor, thinking. But 32 years ago, humanity had lost most of its borders. Now here they were, still underestimated, always underestimated. Warden, he said quietly, we don't hide, we fight smart. The AI paused. Humans have repeatedly shown the ability to act against numerical disadvantage. Suggestion, tactical advantage through adaptive systems. Exactly. Garrick moved quickly to the auxiliary weapons control. Railguns powered up. Missile bays creaked as if they were waking from decades-long sleep. Even a few energy turrets flickered online. The alien fleet didn't know what they were facing. They saw a ruined hull, drifting in a quiet orbit. Scrap. Worthless. And that gave Garrick an advantage. The first Groth probe entered orbit. A sensor blip. Small, fragile. Just enough to test defenses. The probe scanned the Valiant Resolve and broadcast its results back to the fleet. Scan complete, Warden said. External systems masked. Hull integrity, 23%. Weapon systems, minimal. The aliens believed it. The laughter Garrick had imagined decades ago was still alive in his mind. They were about to pay for it. He floated to the communications panel and sent a fake distress signal in open channels. Civilian salvage operation. Immediate evacuation requested. Ship compromised. No combat capability. Minutes later, multiple alien ships slowed slightly, misinterpreting the signal as confirmation. The fleet had already assumed the cruiser was harmless. Patience, Garrick whispered. The first attack came suddenly. A Velk carrier fired a volley of plasma torpedoes from the distance, and a warning shot designed to test defenses. Garrick and Warden watched the trajectories carefully. Targeting vectors locked, Warden reported. Probability of evasion, low. Garrick pressed a button. Small thrusters across the cruiser activated. The ship shuddered violently as the plasma barrage struck, but it didn't hit. The armor plates shifted automatically, a design no alien sensor could understand. Plasma dissipated across the adaptive layers. Heat redistributed. Shielding reformed. The ship had survived its first real strike. Garrick allowed a small smile. "See, Warden? I told you. They forget humans never die quietly." Minutes became an hour. The alien fleet tried multiple approaches, light strikes, coordinated probes, and missile barrages, but the valiant resolve adapted each time. Every time they fired, the Warden calculated their trajectory, predicted outcomes, and adjusted armor and microthrusters in real time. The AI was not fully restored, but fragments were enough. The old ship remembered how to fight. "Hull integrity now 50%, Warden said. "Current tactics effective. Suggest countermeasure deployment." Garrick pressed the auxiliary weapon button. A volley of railgun rounds shot out, aimed precisely at a cluster of Groth support ships. The first hit was brutal. A support vessel was ripped apart mid-flight, debris scattering in orbit. The aliens were stunned. Their sensors had not predicted this response from a seemingly broken cruiser. Garrick's grin widened. "We're just getting started." "Tactical simulation, probability of enemy retreat increasing," Warden noted. He leaned back in the command chair, floating as if weightless in more ways than one. Humans had always survived impossible odds. Adaptation was encoded into their very nature. Every disadvantage became an opportunity. "Warden," he said, "prepare for full engagement. I don't want them running this time." The AI's voice was calm but certain. "Reactor stabilization at 30%. Weapon systems at 20%. Ready for escalation." The fleet commander of the alien coalition grew impatient. Orders were given. The Groth flagship, a massive warship bristling with heavy weapons, advanced to full firing range. Velk carriers launched missile swarms. Several smaller ships tried flanking maneuvers. The cruiser's sensors tracked every movement. Warden calculated over 1,000 engagement scenarios. "Probability of full survival," Warden said. "Less than 10% if conventional tactics are used." "Then conventional tactics won't be used," Garrick replied. He activated the emergency power relay. The micro-core surged, powering auxiliary systems. Railguns charged fully. Missile bays opened. Nanites swarmed over damaged armor plates, forming reinforced layers that looked improvised but were stronger than before. "Hull integrity now 75%, Warden said. Garrick nodded. "Good. Let's give them a memory they'll never forget." He used Warden's predictive analysis to target enemy ship weak points. Missile guidance systems disrupted. Communication relays hacked mid-battle. Targeting sensors jammed. Within minutes, chaos spread across the alien fleet. Their ships could not coordinate. Missiles fired blindly. Swarm formations collapsed. And the Groth flagship fired its main cannons, aiming directly at the cruiser. Energy beams struck the hull. For a moment, it looked like the valiant resolve would take a fatal hit. Then the armor shifted. Energy dispersed. The microreactor redistributed power. The cruiser shuddered, but held. "Direct hit absorbed," Warden reported. Garrick allowed himself a laugh, loud enough to echo in the empty bridge. Did they really think a 6-credit scrap could die quietly? The battle escalated. The alien fleet, expecting an easy target, now faced a ghost of the past. Each strike they launched was predicted and countered. Every approach was anticipated. The valiant resolve moved with precision that no ship its size should have had. Every destroyed enemy vessel fed data into the AI, making calculations faster and smarter. Even the Groth flagship, the most feared of all, was forced to retreat. A few of its support ships were destroyed or disabled. The Velk carriers struggled to maintain formation. Across open channels, alien captains scrambled, confusion evident in their communications. The scrap Terran ship, had become a nightmare. "Warden," Garrick said softly. "They're running." "Yes," the AI confirmed. "Probability of retreat 90%. Engagement successful." Garrick let himself lean back in the command chair. Sweat beaded his forehead, even in the zero-gravity environment. His heart pounded. Humans had survived countless near extinctions. Yet each time they had returned stronger, smarter, and more daring. This was another proof. The cruiser, bought for 6 credits, had destroyed an alien fleet that expected an easy victory. And it had changed the course of this engagement without anyone realizing the threat until it was too late. Garrick watched the alien ships disappear into deep space, leaving the trade zone in stunned silence. Outside the bridge viewport, the wreckage of enemy ships drifted among the stars. "Warden," Garrick said, his voice calm but filled with pride, "they underestimated humans, and they paid for it." "Confirmed. Humanity's resilience remains consistent," Warden replied. He smiled. A scrap ship, a 6-credit relic. And yet it had proven what humans always knew. Underestimation of their ingenuity was a grave mistake. The valiant resolve hummed softly, repairing minor damage as nanites spread through the hull. The ship had survived. The battle was over. But Garrick knew this was only the beginning. Humans never stopped adapting. And they never stopped surviving. And the galaxy would remember that the day a broken Terran cruiser rose from the scrapyard and changed everything. The stars were quiet after the battle. For a moment, Garrick Hale allowed himself to breathe. The alien fleet that had tried to intimidate Kepri 9 had retreated, leaving behind floating debris and stunned silence. The valiant resolve hovered in orbit, its hull blackened, scorched, and battle-worn, but alive. "Warden," Garrick said, floating to the cracked command chair. "Status report. Hull integrity, 85% post-repair. Weapon systems, 70% operational. Nanite reinforcement, complete for critical areas. External threat, 0. Garrick allowed himself a small smile. A 6-credit scrap ship had just routed an advanced coalition fleet. And no one in the galaxy knew the truth. The valiant resolve had been ready for decades. It had waited for someone clever enough to bring it back to life. The news spread quickly. It began as whispers in trade hubs, far from Kepri 9. Reports of a Terran cruiser, supposedly destroyed decades ago, had repelled a coalition fleet using unknown tactics. Merchants, salvagers, and minor warlords whispered the name with awe, Valiant Resolve. The aliens had underestimated humanity again. They always did. Garrick sat in the bridge, looking at the stars. His hands hovered over the controls, though he did not need them yet. Warden had restored enough AI intelligence to handle the ship autonomously, if necessary. "Warden, log all battle data. Every enemy movement, every system response, every damage point," Garrick ordered. "Confirmed." "A tactical database updated," the AI replied. Garrick nodded. This was more than survival. This was preparation. Humanity had been underestimated for decades. Now they had proof. Underestimation could be fatal. He floated over to the communications console and sent a single short message to all nearby trade stations. "Terran vessel operational. Unauthorized engagement with hostile fleet. Evacuation recommended if unprepared." The effect was immediate. Traders, miners, and even neutral fleets in the sector suddenly took notice. Panic spread quietly but fast. Humans thought weak and disorganized were proving the opposite. A week passed. During that time, Garrick continued repairs. Warden slowly rebuilt its AI core, connecting memory fragments scattered through the ship. By now, the cruiser operated at nearly full intelligence. "Garrick," Warden said one day, voice calm as ever, "combat efficiency is at 92%. Systems are fully adaptive. Tactical database indicates enemy underestimation remains high in surrounding sectors." Garrick nodded. Humans had always relied on adaptability more than brute strength. The valiant resolve was a perfect example. It did not need to be bigger than its enemies. It only needed to be smarter. "Then let's make sure they remember us," Garrick said. The first contact came sooner than expected. A Groth warship, scouting for survivors from the previous engagement, approached the system. Its sensors detected the valiant resolve almost immediately. The alien captain smiled, thinking the cruiser could be an easy target for salvage, or a minor victory. "Warden," Garrick said calmly, "and show them who underestimated humans before." Acknowledged. Tactical simulation indicates overwhelming probability of enemy defeat. The cruiser moved silently at first. Its external thrusters were damaged, so Warden used gravity assist and micro-adjustments to position it perfectly. It looked slow and harmless, a ghost of the past. The alien warship fired first. Energy beams cut across space, striking the outer armor. The hull groaned, but adaptive layers redistributed the energy. Nanites reinforced weakened points. The cruiser barely shuddered. Garrick allowed a small grin. Not even close. Warden activated secondary systems. Missile bays opened, railguns powered up, auxiliary turrets rotated and charged. The attack sequence was precise. No shots were wasted. Within minutes, the alien ship was disabled, drifting powerless, like its crew panicking. "Send a message," Garrick said. "Tell them humans don't die quietly." Message transmitted, response pending. It didn't take long. Across open communication channels, other alien fleets in nearby sectors paused. The message spread fast. A Terran warship, thought destroyed decades ago, was not only alive but capable of full-scale combat. Garrick realized something crucial. This wasn't just about defending Kepri 9 or survival. This was about perception. Humans had been underestimated for decades. Others assumed humans were small, weak, and easy to manipulate. Every victory had been against that underestimation. Now, the valiant resolve could prove that humans were not to be discounted. Not ever. He made a decision. "Warden, prepare for a controlled demonstration of force. No unnecessary casualties. Show strength, and not cruelty." "Acknowledged," Warden replied. The valiant resolve moved again, silently positioning itself in the path of a minor coalition fleet attempting to patrol the outer trade routes. The aliens opened fire. Missiles and energy beams streaked through space. Warden calculated their trajectories instantly. The cruiser adapted, shifted, and countered. Within minutes, every incoming attack was neutralized. Railguns struck with surgical precision, disabling weapon systems and propulsion of the enemy vessels without destroying lives. The effect was devastating. These fleets had thought they were powerful. They had thought a destroyed human cruiser posed no threat. And now, they were humiliated. Garrick looked out at the stars, exhausted but satisfied. The valiant resolve had survived countless attacks, adapted to damage, and neutralized multiple enemy vessels with minimal effort. "Warden, report," Garrick said. "External threat minimal. Probability of repeat underestimation low. Tactical advantage secured." "Good," Garrick said. He floated back to the command chair. The cruiser had become more than a warship. It had become a symbol, a warning. Humans never threw things away. Humans never gave up. And humans never underestimated the impossible. Word spread through the galaxy quickly. News channels, trade reports, and rumors all carried the same story. A Terran warship, destroyed decades ago, had risen from the scrapyard and defeated advanced alien fleets. Alien diplomats and military strategists panicked. What had been a 6-credit scrap vessel was now the most feared independent warship in known space. On Earth, Terran High Command was quiet, and they monitored the situation closely. Garrick had not reported to them, he was a civilian, but the cruiser had reasserted human strength in a way no fleet could ignore. A single message came from command. "Is she still combat capable?" Garrick allowed a small smile. Warden had already answered. Operational, awaiting further engagement. He did not need a military rank to command respect. The valiant resolve had proven that humans themselves were enough. Intelligence, adaptability, courage, these were the real weapons. The cruiser, purchased for 6 credits, had changed everything. Alien fleets no longer underestimated humans. Trade agreements shifted, minor conflicts were avoided. Every corner of space began to recognize the strength hidden behind what seemed weak. And Garrick? He remained a civilian, a salvager, a simple human who had seen potential where others saw wreckage. "You remember everything," he said quietly to Warden. "Affirmative," the AI replied. "Then let's keep it that way," Garrick said. The valiant resolve hummed softly, repairing minor damage, reinforcing armor, and scanning the stars. It was alive, alert, and ready. The galaxy had laughed at a broken hull. They had forgotten that humans see wreckage as potential, and potential in human hands always changes everything. As Garrick floated on the bridge, looking at the endless stars, he knew one thing. This was just the beginning. No one would ever look at Terran's scrap the same way again. Because humans never die quietly. Because humans never stay broken for long. And because the valiant resolve had proved it all, even a 6-credit ship could become a legend.